Let's just say it out loud. The thing that a lot of people are thinking but don't always want to ask. Is Bitcoin a scam? It's a fair question. It's actually one of the most important questions you can ask before putting any time or money into understanding something. And the fact that you're asking it means you're thinking clearly. So let's take it seriously. We touched on this briefly in the first episode, but briefly isn't enough. This question deserves its own episode, because the answer isn't just no. The answer is actually interesting, and understanding why it's not a scam teaches you something important about how to think about money, risk, and the difference between something that's complicated and something that's dishonest. Those are not the same thing, and by the end of this episode, you'll know exactly how to tell the difference. Before we can say whether Bitcoin is a scam, we need to agree on what a scam actually is. A scam is a deliberate deception. Someone, or a group of people, creates something designed to take money from others, under false pretenses. They make promises they know they can't keep. They hide who they are. They control the outcome. And when enough money has moved in their direction, they disappear. That's a scam. The key ingredients are a person or group in control, a deliberate lie, and a plan to exit with your money. Now let's hold that definition up against Bitcoin. Is there a person or group in control? No. There's no CEO, no company, no board of directors. Satoshi Nakamoto, whoever that is, published the code, released it for free, and then disappeared. They haven't touched the Bitcoin they mined in the early days. They've never tried to cash out. They've never tried to profit from being the founder. If this were a scam, that would be the strangest way to run one. Is there a deliberate lie at the center of it? No. The code is open source, meaning anyone in the world can read it, audit it, check it, and challenge it. The rules aren't hidden. They're published. They're the same for everyone. Is there a plan to exit with your money? There's nobody to exit. Bitcoin doesn't have owners who can pull the plug, take the funds, and vanish. It runs on thousands of computers around the world. To shut it down, you'd have to shut down all of them, simultaneously, which has never happened, and which no single government or institution has the power to do. By the definition of scam, Bitcoin doesn't qualify. Here's where it gets more complicated, and I want to be straight with you about this. Bitcoin's price has crashed, not once, multiple times, dramatically. We're talking drops of 50, 60, 80%, sometimes within a matter of months. In 2011, Bitcoin dropped 93%. In 2018, it dropped 84%. In 2022, it dropped 77%. Each time, people declared it dead. Each time, headlines announced the end of Bitcoin. Each time, it recovered. And each time, the recovery took it higher than it had been before the crash. Now, does that volatility make it risky? Absolutely. We're not going to pretend otherwise. If you'd bought at the peak in 2021 and sold at the bottom in 2022, you'd have lost a significant amount of money. That's real. That matters. And it's part of why this channel exists, to make sure you understand what you're dealing with before you deal with it. But volatility isn't the same as fraud. The stock market crashes too. Property markets crash. Gold price falls. Risk and scam are not the same category. One is an inherent feature of any asset. The other is a crime. Bitcoin is risky. It is not a scam. Those are two completely different statements. And keeping them separate is one of the most useful things you can do when thinking about your own money. Here's where I do want to offer a real warning. Because while Bitcoin isn't a scam, The crypto space has produced some of the most spectacular scams in financial history, and knowing the difference could save you a lot of money. An actual crypto scam tends to have a few things in common. There's a named founder, usually someone very visible, very charismatic, making very large promises. There's a white paper full of technical-sounding language. That doesn't actually say anything specific. There's a pre-sale, meaning the founders hold a large portion of the tokens before anyone else can buy them. And there's urgency. Get in now, before it's too late. This is the opportunity of a lifetime. FTX, Luna, OneCoin. These are real examples of crypto projects that collapsed, not because of market forces, but because of fraud. Real people lost real money, and in some cases, the people running them went to prison. None of those projects were Bitcoin. Bitcoin had no founder collecting a salary, no pre-sale enriching insiders, no charismatic CEO making promises on TV, no urgency campaign, just code, released quietly, into the world. The reason it's important to understand this is that crypto gets used as a catch-all word for thousands of completely different things, some of which are genuinely useful, some of which are speculative, and some of which are outright fraud. Treating them all the same is like treating a corner store and an investment bank as the same kind of business, because they both involve money. Here's something worth sitting with. Bitcoin has been declared dead over 400 times. There's a website that tracks it. Every headline, every op-ed, every expert who announced the end. 400 times. And counting. It's still here. Why? Not because of hype, not because of marketing, but because the underlying network has never gone down, never been successfully hacked, never had its core rules broken. In 16 years of operation, the Bitcoin network has had an uptime of over 99.9%. That matters, because if Bitcoin were built on a lie, the lie would have been found by now. Thousands of the world's best cryptographers, computer scientists, and hackers have spent 16 years trying to break it, not because they want it to succeed, some of them actively want it to fail, but because breaking it would be worth an enormous amount of money. They haven't broken it. That's not proof of perfection. No system is perfect. But it is 16 years of evidence that the thing works the way it says it works. Bitcoin is not a scam. It's a new kind of money, one that nobody controls, nobody can fake, and nobody can shut down, that has been running continuously for 16 years and has survived every crash, every hack attempt, and every declaration of its death. But it is volatile, and it is new in the context of financial history, and there are things about it that are genuinely uncertain: regulation, adoption, how governments around the world will respond over time. So how do you hold all of that? Not by ignoring the risk, and not by being so afraid of the risk that you never take the time to understand it properly. The most dangerous financial position is not understanding what you own. That's true whether we're talking about a savings account, a superannuation fund, a property investment, or Bitcoin. Understanding what something is, how it works, and what the real risks are. That's not optional. That's the whole point of being financially literate. Which is exactly what you're doing right now, by being here, by asking the hard questions instead of just nodding along. That's not a small thing. Is Bitcoin a scam? No. Is it risk-free? No. Is it worth understanding? That's why you're here. There's a version of financial confidence that doesn't come from certainty, because certainty doesn't exist in finance or anywhere else. It comes from understanding what you're looking at clearly enough to make your own informed decisions, not someone else's decisions, not the decisions of whoever's loudest on social media. Yours. That's what this channel is building toward, one episode at a time. Bitcoin for Girls, the building of a beautiful future. See you next episode.